Greetings and salutations, YouTube people. This is Jake, Viper15 Alpha 41. I'm out in the garage, and this is a 55-gallon tank. This tank I had sitting out here. It was full of water and plants, and even had a few fish in it. And it was kind of my spare tank. This is where I would put things that I didn't have anywhere else to place it, but I didn't want to get rid of. So it was pretty junky. It was in pretty rough shape. It was totally neglected. My wife recently told me that she wants a planted tank in our living room, the first room of the house when you come in the front door. I was a little surprised by that, but you know what, I'm all for it. She said she wanted it to be heavily planted, dense planting. So that makes me, my first thought was, well, then we're going to have to do a dirt tank, which happens that this tank was set up as a dirted tank. And while I had it torn down, I thought this was a good opportunity to talk about how to set up a dirted tank. Alright? When I say dirted, what I mean, if you're not familiar with the concept, is that you use a soil-based substrate, because plants grow in dirt. And that is exactly what I have in this tank. It is a mixture of potting soil and gravel. Now there are other techniques people use. They use total just potting, organic potting soil and just a gravel cap. That's how this one started, but over the year or so it's been up and running. The gravel and the soil have kind of intermingled, and you can't, well, I guess you could, but it would be very difficult to separate the two, and it's just not that important to me. So I leave the gravel in. The topsoil I used, this was a very, the first time I did it, I bought an expensive organic brand. I think it was made by maybe Miracle Grow. Worked great, great consistency. This one I was in a hurry and I couldn't find the organic stuff or the organic name brand, so I bought some cheap junk at Lowe's. It was just a no-name house brand, whatever. Put it in the tank, threw the gravel on top. And it did what it's supposed to do. It had all the appropriate nutrients and everything in it that the plants need to grow and be successful. But it also had a lot of mulch in it. I say mulch, what I mean is little bits of like peat moss and tree bark, and and I always had problems with that junk floating up in the tank as it was set up. So what I've done this morning is I drained all the water out, separated the plants. And I've just dug through with my hands, got all the old roots out, all the clumps of mud and whatever, and even went so far as to, I don't know if you can see this or not, scooped out these bits of, see there, those little chunks of dirt and not dirt, but tree bark and just crap you don't want floating up in the tank. Alright? So what I'm going to do next is, I've got, the tank's filthy. I'm going to try to wipe off the insides and get this old duckweed and dried up junk off of it while it's still out in the garage. I've got a wooden stand that this sets on. The wife's in the kitchen working on it. It's almost as scuzzy as this tank. Then I'm going to put it in the living room. I'm going to use a canister filter and probably T5. Standard T5s, not high output, but just standard T5 lights to illuminate the tank and hopefully provide the lights that the plants need. So bear with me, and I'll check back in with you on this video, my next step. Alright folks, so I took a minute, wiped the tank off, give you a little better view of what we're talking about. Now I've watched, I don't know how many videos on the tube about how you do a dirted tank. When I watch those videos, there's always a couple common questions in the comments. I'm going to try to go through those real quick for you. First is people want to know what the recipe is for the dirt. And I'm here to tell you, there is no magic recipe. It's just dirt. It's just potting soil. If you go to the store, look for the bag that says top soil, not potting soil. I know I just said potting soil, I meant to say top soil. If If you get potting soil, it'll have little built-in fertilizers, and that'll cause you problems. What you need is topsoil. Now the problem with topsoil is, like I also talked about, it's just going to have a little bit of extra junk in there. You can try to sift that stuff out while you're, before you put it in the tank and get it wet, or you can put it in the tank, soak it. 80% of it will just float out, and you can just pick the rest out when you get there. It's just whatever you want to do. Another question I hear all the time is, how much do you use? This is my, I don't know, 4th or 5th dirted tank, and I've had the best luck with it with about 2 inches of dirt, between 1 3/4 inches, 2 inches. You get any more than that, and the problems that I've seen is that there's organic material inside the soil that breaks down, and it builds little it off-gasses some kind of unpleasant gas, and you get these weird bubbles that float out, and whether that's good or bad for your plants, I don't know, but it's unpleasant. So it keeps the everything stirred up. Alright. There are some additives that you can put in the dirt. Some people like to use types of clay for iron supplements. What I've done, and it works best for me, is I'll go buy a not cheap, but a bag of substrate at one of the pet stores, like a fluorite, Floramax kind of thing. And that stuff, and I'll mix a little bit of that in, and I mean just a little. A little goes a long way. Now that stuff's sold to be used on its own as a substrate, but you can, stretch that buck way far. The advantage to that is it has, it's supposed to be complete as far as whatever the necessary minerals are: iron, potassium, that kind of stuff. You don't have to get too hung up on that though, because you can always dose with liquid ferts later on. All right, a dirt tank, if it's your first time doing it, can be a little bit intimidating. But I've been doing it for a while, and to me it's easier. So there's another guy on YouTube that's got like 700 plus videos, all about dirt tanks. He's all for it. He's very enthusiastic about it. He's got some great ideas. Check him out. Sometimes some of the videos, not necessarily by him, but on the net, will overcomplicate this process, and there's nothing hard about it. Get some dirt, put it in a tank, put some water on it, and then there you go. I'll show you some other techniques, some tips that I've learned that'll help make the process go easier as you're setting it up. Alright folks, as you can see, I've got the tank moved into the area it's going to sit after I get it set up, and I have collected most of the stuff I'm going to need for the decorating the tank. As you can see, I've got my plants laid out here. These are the plants that were in the tank before. It's a collection of various stuff. These are all very hardy plants. It's like Java fern and Amazon swords, and I got jungle val and sage and some India red sword, and just a mixture of various things. I think there's some water sprite, some wisteria. Don't know that I'll use all of it, but this is what I've got available. And as I'm putting the rocks and decorations and such in, I'll try to bear in mind the height of the plants, and how tall they're going to grow, how full they're going to grow. The other thing I like to do as I'm doing this is I set all my tools out. Got a bucket of just rocks. They're just cool looking rocks I've hung on to. This is the Floramax I was talking about. This is what I'm going to use for my cap. This is the Midnight color. I don't know if they call it, I take that back. I'm not sure if they call it Midnight or not. But it's black. It's just a black superfine gravel. And this is the stuff I was talking about earlier that is supposedly has all the minerals in them. That's a 12-pound bag. Found it on sale at one of the chain stores for $8 a bag. Usually runs $20 a bag. I saw it for $8, bought 2 bags. Also have some other gravels here. This is just a real kind of a fine grade light brown mottled colors. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but I've got it available, and it's just, you know, maybe use it for some contrasting color or something along those lines. Alright, let's see. If you see here on this corner, I had to shim this up a little bit. This is something I don't think a lot of people pay a lot of attention to, but it's probably one of the most important things, and that is very important that your tank is level. You know, this it's going to be 50 odd gallons of water at 8+ pounds. You know, it's per gallon. You're looking at 400 and some odd pounds. It's heavy, so you need it to be level left to right, and level front to back, which it is. But it did require some shimming. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have gotten to my favorite part of aquascaping, and that's the artistic stuff. It's just where you sit down and you put the things in and you move them around until they feel right. So it's going to take me a little bit of time, sometimes, you know, a couple hours, and then I'll get it laid out. I'll start poking the plants in as I get an idea of how it's going. I'll check back in with you in a little bit when I have an idea how this is going to go. Alright folks, as you can tell, the sun has gone down. I've spent a couple hours setting this up. Went in a little bit different direction as far as the decorating goes. Talk about behind the tank is a set of shelves that are built into the wall, and the wife's put some plants in there. I'm kind of digging that look. I know they're not real obvious right now, but it's kind of cool. Maybe, you know, I think the plan is to get some things that'll drape over the tank, and it will probably benefit from the additional moisture that will be in the air. I know I said I was going to go with a T5, however, I've opted to go with one of my LEDs. This one is rated for planted tanks, so I think that it should work out alright. Let's talk about what we've done inside here. Okay. The tank has these banked up ends. The ends are where the dirt is. This area in the center, there is no dirt. I don't anticipate putting any plants in here. And then more dirt on this end. What you can see there, that black gravel, that is the floor max. Trust me, there is the dirt substrate underneath, and I just put the floor max cap on it. Banked it up. This side not quite as severe, but it's what I've done is I use those big stones that were in the bucket, and they not only hold the dirt back, but they separate the gravel from the dirt. And this side, the bank was not as dramatic, so it's really just banked up. It's not that big a deal. Put the rock on top, and then we've got, as you can see, the Amazon swords in there, and the red sword in the front. There's a little crypt right there, and I don't know, I'll have some micro sword that's in another one of my tanks I may put right here, because it'll only get about that tall, so it'd be cool looking. This side, the banking is a little more dramatic, and I want to tell you how I did it. First of all, that big pointy rock on the top is actually sitting on another rock. You can see the edge of it right there. And there's a pretty big stone here, big stone there. Underneath this big stone is another stone. And what's happened is these are sitting on the bottom of the aquarium, stacked up. And then I pulled the dirt substrate up around them, and then put the floor max cap on. There's also some other stones in this layer here that you really can't see. Now my plan was that these additional stones will help keep this more steep banking back. It'll retain that dirt back there. At least I hope it will. I haven't tried this before, so we'll see. I got some pretty basic plants. These are just, there's a couple little crypts right here, and then some jungle val, some sages. these plants will hopefully spread and fill in this area. Of course, their root bases will give additional support. There's some other stuff back here that you can see. I've got my that's the input for the canister back there in the corner, and it's already collected a few little bits of junk that was in the water. There's my heater. I'm not real excited about the placement of that heater. I'll probably work on that. And then I did go ahead and put a bubble stone in. It's one thing that's kind of cool is I used a smaller air pump, and because I guess it's because it's smaller, I'm getting these finer bubbles, and I kind of dig that look. Got some other plans for this area. I'm not just going to leave it this brown gravel, but you know, my tanks are always a work in progress. They're never finished. As soon as they look complete, I'd get in them and rearrange them. So you know, that's a dirted tank in a nutshell. It's not a complicated process. It's not a hard thing to do. One step I didn't talk about that's very important is that the dirt that I put in this tank is established. It's been in there for a long time. But if you got a new tank with new dirt, you have to do lots of water changes, alright? And I'm talking 50 to 75% water changes, you know, a week. And the reason for that is when you use a dirt substrate, it puts so much nutrients in the water that you will have algae blooms, and you know, your water could turn dingy. It's sort of a little bit of a pain, but that, you know, it's not indefinite. You just have to do it in the beginning. So if you have any questions about setting up a dirted tank, I know I've skipped a few steps in there, and it's like I said earlier, it's not that complicated. And you know, if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me a note. If you like my video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe, please. Share it with your friends. Until next time, hope everybody has a great day.